Welcome to the Push
Chess Club March Rapid taking place in Brooklyn, New York at BrookLAN. Thank you so much to Micah for organizing this event, BrookLAN for hosting us, and all the players for coming out. The pieces are moving and the clocks are clanging. We've already begun. As you can see here, we have a position on board one. The time control today is 15 minutes per game per side, and then every move, each side gets 10 seconds increment. So you will see the clocks moving up 10 seconds every time somebody makes a move, which will be much more important as we get later into the games. All right, let's take a look at what we have here on board one. We have the highest rated player, BrookLAN's own Cameron Hull, with the white pieces. And I'm not sure who his opponent is, but we will get the opponent name as soon as the game wraps up. Yeah, Cameron Hull is, and Jonathan Coffin. Okay, thank you, Mr. Producer Tucker, for the information. I can't see the full board because we're picking some music here, but the music is very essential for setting the vibe. Okay, let's see. I want to know how this started. So I'm assuming, okay, we've got a Benoni here. So probably what happened was d4, knight f6, c4, and then the opponent played c5, and we have the structure. But the move order seems to be a little bit different. Probably what we're going to get here is e takes d, and then Cam may respond c takes d. This is a pretty standard position. Nothing much to write home about, at least from my point of view. The ideas in structures like this for black are to just clog everything up. Interesting. Okay, it seems like the opponent does not want to go for a standard position. I think very typically in these types of positions you're going to see somewhere e takes d. But what we've seen from black here is g6. And what g6 does is it gives the option for black to develop his bishop on the diagonal g7, g6, g7, h6, or to bring the bishop to e7. Cam makes a develop a move. He develops a knight to f3, a very common idea. But sometimes the move order here can be important. So black plays g7. I think he's preparing to castle. And we'll see what Cam does. Probably there are a few options for Cam here. Maybe he'll develop his light square bishop. Probably if he does, he'll develop that to d3, and then look to castle. But there are some other options. Okay, he develops to e2. Now maybe the idea of bringing the bishop to e2 is that it's not as much stuck behind the pawns as if it were on d3. However, something tells me those pawns are not going to be there forever. And I'm not sure if e2 is actually the best square for that bishop, but it's nothing more probably than a stylistic decision here. We see castles from black, castles from white. Okay. All right, everybody on both sides is playing very principled chess here. We've developed some pieces, we've controlled the center, and we've castled our kings. Check, check, check. 3 checks. We've accomplished the opening. Okay, so black moves his rook to the e-file, which potentially gives some indication that he's going to try to open the e-file at some point. For example, if black were to play some wild move, which is not of the position, but if he were to play d takes e in this position, you wouldn't take back with the rook, but you would have a lot of pressure on the e-file. So the problem with doing that, though, is that white is going to be sacrificing a lot of the control that he has over the center. So black is really not going to look to touch that D pawn. If anything, he wants black to take so he can take back with either of the pawns, probably the C pawn. But white's white's goal here is to continue developing, but it's not necessarily that easy in these structures to do that. And I have a friend who has joined us.
Hey, let me get the chair here.
Yes, pull the chair in. This will be much better than just me talking to myself. All right, excuse the pops on the mic for a second. We're gonna be getting reset in here. Yeah, come on in. Come on in. The jacket might have to come off soon, by the way, because
Get naked.
it's, gotta keep everybody entertained somehow, and it's a little bit hot. All right, yeah, Cam is okay. So Cam has actually played H3, and Cam playing H3. The idea here is that when he develops his dark square bishop, he's got somewhere to hide it on H2. And okay, so we've seen a little bit of a weird move order in this structure. Not that the moves, the position is atypical, but the move order is a little bit weird. We see this move, E takes D5, and we're back into a highly typical Benoni structure here. One that if you looked at and you checked it on the computer, you're gonna see a pretty good valuation for white. It's probably somewhere around +1 for white, but not very easy. Welcome.
Hey, what's up? I'm Alex. I am going to be popping in here from time to time when I'm not doing data entry for the tournament and walking around doing the rounds. But I lost to Cam last time I played him, which I'm still mad about. But I will judge his play unbiasedly.
Okay, so we're not going to have bias as
No bias here.
Cam is the highest rated player in this tournament, at least in Bushwick chess rating.
In our local rating system, Cam is USCF of floor 1700. So at one time he was a 1900, or maybe he clicked 2000 at one point. Actually, no. I think if you're floor 17, that means that you never got the 2000, because then he would have been. No, it's every 300 points. So maybe if you're 2100. 2100 would be a 419. So whatever, he's a good player. And there's a few players here that are unrated because this is the local system, that are there's 3 masters playing, and Cam is not one of them. Cam is a
3 masters.
Cam is a BA level player, but he's.
So Cam's got his work cut out for him to stay on board 1 for as long as possible today.
Yeah, I'm looking at this position again. I will agree with what you said. He has a slight advantage, but with the fianchettoed bishop and the that open black diagonal, his opponent does have some counterplay.
So
here.
we played a game before this, and you said that sometimes you're a D4 player.
No, I'm exclusively a D4 player.
Oh, okay.
I never play E4. I play either D4 or system openings.
So in this game we got a Benoni. So we got D4, Knight of 6, C4, C5. How do you feel? What's the psychological effect of facing a Benoni for you? How do you feel against it?
I like having the space, but again, fianchetto bishops are always scary. So it's like, it's a space versus positional advantage that you kind of have to, because white looks like they have space here, but it's the counterplay that black has, and white has better development, better center control, but that Crafting Tiger hidden bishop will have some play. So the Benoni might seem a little bit passive, but it's a ploy.
So Cam did something interesting here, which is when his opponent played E takes D5. He didn't take back with the standard C takes D. He took E takes D. And what he's done is he's really changed the dynamic of a typical Benoni structure by typically the pressure is going to be on the E file, and the black knight that has come from b8 to d7 is going to find a really nice perch on e5. But in this position, we have something much different. We have no e-pawn. And so how do you expect the next couple of moves to go here with this wide open e-file, and both white and black still need to develop some pieces?
Well, white's going to have to develop that bishop. I actually don't even know what he's thinking about here. I would just throw that bishop and start going after that d6 pawn immediately.
You play bishop f4?
Yeah. I mean, without thinking. Which I guess he would go for the knight. I don't, you got to protect the pawn at this point, so you're going to have to look at a knight move or maybe queen coming over to b6, but starting to stack, because then the knight can come over to b5, and it's going to start being going after that d pawn.
Yeah. So
Weakness on the black side here for sure is that juicy d pawn. Oh, it comes to the file. Okay.
Okay. So we have rook e1 as opposed to bishop f4. Interesting decision.
That's a taste sort of thing. He's still loading up. When for me, I would have just gone for the initiative immediately.
See, that's you talk about taste and style. It plays such an important role in chess. You have obviously kind of the two camps are positional players versus tactical players, but sometimes these games that start out positional and slow turn into the most intense tactical matches later on. So we might see some of that potential energy build up here.
So the knight just came into the center in e5. I'm going to expect, with the rook coming out to e1 by white, he made that juicy little pocket for the bishop, which is, if he wants to go after that knight, bring the rook to the center. I love having in my bishop like that. You actually did that in the game we just played, where you bring your bishop.
You're talking about before I blunder my other bishop.
Yeah, but
okay,
but yeah, you throw the bishop back, and it doesn't have to be worried about being taken by the knight, and you get the rook over, and it's yeah. But now you have the black coming after squares.
This bishop has always been a little bit. I want to ask Cam about the decision he made earlier to develop the bishop to e2 instead of d3, because in a lot of these Benoni structures, the bishop slides back either to c2 or to b1. And as you can see, that's not really possible here. The bishop, if it does slide back at some point and doesn't end up, capturing back if black takes on f3, the bishop is going to be a little bit passive on f1. It has almost no scope behind that c4 pawn.
When I came and started watching this game a little bit late. When did Cam play h3?
Yeah, so he played h3 when the position was still when the position just had opened. So black basically had traded on d5, and then Cam's idea to play h3 I think was twofold. One is to prevent this black's light square bishop from having scope, and then the other piece of that is when he develops a dark square bishop, maybe as you recommended to f4, he can tuck it on h2 if it's ever threatened by the knight.
Okay, because I look at moves like h3 that, he could have probably brought his bishop out sooner and gotten over to that b1 square or whatever it is. And but again, taste, but those moves seem harmless, but they add up and they make you less developed than your opponent.
Okay, we're going to be getting some tactics here because Cam has won a tempo on the rook.
And now that pawn's going to start going after fire. So the rook's going to move, and then the knight's more than likely going to come over to b5.
But if the rook goes all the way back to e8, what happens after knight b5? Because now we're attacking that d pawn twice.
Exactly.
And you think, okay, maybe I can defend knight e4, but that knight can't stay there. And that pawn is
it'll be kicked, but the nice thing is actually if he plays e4, I was going to say bishop d4, but it doesn't work because the knight can take it because the knight's on b5 at that point. So,
Black a little bit of trouble here.
Exactly. I mean, and I called it, 4 or 5 moves ago. I was like, d6 is the backwards target.
Look at Cam's.
Yeah, Cam is serenely knows he has and that's the thing, when your opponent has an obvious weakness and you're playing against somebody who's a good player, your opponent now has a plan. And you don't. Your plan basically becomes dealing with your weakness and you're always at a disadvantage. So I would say, we don't have Fritz or anything running here, but I would say white's up at least a pawn.
Oh, we have a surprising move here.
And by surprising, probably a blunder, just by judging where the rook went. There's no way that's good at all.
It's okay. So typically you want your rooks to be on a square where it can move fully up and down and fully side to side.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Cam didn't even think about it. He's protecting the bishop, and now the rook is in absolute no man's land. So you can't kick that bishop. The rook now cannot go back to e5, and he is more than 100% likely going to be trapped after bishop d3 or pawn push.
But how about this? Bishop d3. What if you just say F it and you play something crazy like rook h5, and you just say, I'm going to sack a piece to rip the king as much as possible open?
So that's not a sack at that point. It would have to be pawn to g4 in this point, right? Because if the bishop comes over, then the rook's safe at h5.
Well, h5 with the idea of sacking the bishop or the rook on h3.
Yeah. So next, the threat is g4, and yeah, you're right. He's gonna have to play. I wouldn't even say
actually.
that.
I think g4 would be a bad move for white in that position, because you can even in that position play knight takes, and if you play knight takes and he captures back, then you play bishop takes c4, and now you have almost no pawns in front of your king, and you have two bishops. I still don't think that's a good
bishop takes
position for
c4. What do you mean bishop takes c4?
So the line that I was looking at is rook h5, and I think you're saying, oh, we have a different move. Okay, so what do we have
he's
here?
attacking the bishop now as his defense, which is novel. And if bishop takes, now the rook has a safety square.
Yes. So somebody might look at this position and say, oh, I see two pieces that I can fork and I can play g4. But what happens if g4?
G4, he's going to take the bishop. And on pawn takes, now white is looking pretty suspect after knight takes h3 check.
So g4, would you play rook takes f4, or would you play knight takes f4?
I would play knight takes f4.
Okay, and I think in that position you have a really nice threat because you're gonna take h3 with
exactly.
check.
Yeah, that's why I would take that way.
So you might just give the rook up for an
100%, and I wouldn't bat an eye at that, because that check, king's gonna have to come up, and then you pop your queen over to h4, and now you have a lot more of a position.
The queen coming into h4 is a
it's
big
scary.
strategic
Yeah,
idea
Your
here.
white goes from up maybe 2 or 3 pawns to possibly losing.
So knight h5 is giving some play to.
I don't think
to black.
g4 is playable actually because of that. And now the rook has. Oh, I guess he can.
I don't think you want to play bishop takes h5 here either.
Yeah, I mean the big thing. Yeah, bishop takes h5. Well, what's wrong with that?
So bishop takes h5, rook takes h5, and now you have the two bishops. You have, again, opportunity at some point to bring your queen in. You can also sacrifice the bishop at some point on h3 and rip the king with two heavy pieces over there. So, yeah, if you take back g takes h5, I think that's bad for black. But if you take with the rook, I think you might have something going, although you might also trap your rook.
It's also a bishop for a knight, and there's this funny thing that happens with pieces that look like they should be trapped, that they just keep on wiggling out, and the more you attack them, the more you weaken your position. That happens a lot with me when I play what is it? Not the English, the what's Magnus's opening? The for black, where you play e4 d5 what fucking opening is that? e4 d5 pawn takes, and you take with the queen.
Scandinavian.
Yeah, the Scando. Whenever I play the Scando, I love it because you keep your queen out there in such a way that your opponent actually aren't developed enough to attack your queen, and when they do, you completely destabilize their position.
Yes.
And then you counterattack. And you could see something like this and that, like, I don't see a there. You need to have, and that's why Cam's concentrating so hard right now because
He's in the tank.
he realizes the complexities of trying to trap that rook because it actually takes mental effort to do it properly.
So are we overthinking here, and should we just save the dark square bishop? Maybe place it very calmly.
Oh, I would go.
Like
I
H2?
would play H2 immediately and stop thinking about this because if you go back and play H2, now the rook's still not a good position. The knight's on the edge, and you're winning.
And you're threatening G4.
Yeah, and he's also still threatening D6. But Cam is putting himself in trouble here by thinking too much, and I think he should just pop the bishop back and play for his advantages.
We need to take a mental screen grab of this position.
I'm gonna take a picture of it because
And-
I am not good enough to remember.
and
positions.
when Cam is done, if he wins this game, I would love to ask him what he's thinking.
Regardless if he wins this game or not, I'm still going to talk to him because I love every opportunity to talk shit to him.
He gets a little bit rattled if he's going to lose this game, and then he
Yeah,
gets the questions.
I almost want to walk over there and see if the board's calibrated properly because he's taking so long here. Okay, he's moving. Let's see what he does. Yep.
Okay.
Called it. Good.
Wait, pound. We got one right. So
Good analysis.
On chess.com, sometimes you could guess the move. So we're 1 for 1.
Yeah, I just looked at this immediately. I was like, oh, I would just play to that because now he's playing smart. He's not overextending and getting in trouble, which he correctly analyzed not to do.
And so that knight doesn't look very smart
It's terrible.
on h5, and the bishop and the rook looks even.
The rook's
less
also
smart.
suspect because now he's threatening bishop g4. If the rook comes back to f5, actually, that's one thing. Rook can go back to f5 as awkward as it looks because he no longer has bishop to g5, which he had earlier because he would have had that pin going, but now he doesn't.
Very important moment here for Black to decide how he's going to untangle his position. He made a little bit of a commitment. I think this is a little bit of a case of hope chess.
Oh yeah,
where-
no, the rook f5. Like just playing so many games in my life. Saw that immediately. Don't even need to look at analysis or anything. Mistake, error, blunder. Intuitively, just know where does the rook want to be? Rooks want to be on files. You took him off of his file, and now he's going after an attack. Okay.
Okay, but respect for continuing the attack here.
Yeah, it's surface deep. Black's position doesn't look good still,
So basically, we just need to guard the pawn.
which you can do a couple different ways.
A couple. So what ways are you looking at?
Numero uno would be swinging the knight over to e4. Or
the knight to e4.
Yeah, knight
Interesting.
e4, and even actually with
Dual
that,
purpose.
dual purpose because you're attacking the weak d6 pawn. And this
Okay,
is the
that
thing
is some idea.
when you're playing strong opposition. If you play a little less precise, like Black isn't playing terrible losing moves.
But I see a little bit of an issue with knight going to e4.
Okay, well tell me
but
all
he does
about it then.
So in this position, I'm a little bit worried if I'm white about knight f6. Because with knight f6, you give the opportunity to Black to untangle the pieces. That's the only thing, because you're not up material here. You're up a strategic advantage of your pieces being slightly better placed, but you're being attacked. And if Black can use this opportunity maybe to play something like knight f6, that knight is no longer going to be awkward on h5 and able to be targeted. So obviously if in that position, knight f6, knight takes f6, you have to choose what you want to take back with. That dark square bishop is a beast right now on d4.
It is a bit scary, but the rook's file is able to be blocked, like with playing something like bishop f3. Now, with bishop f3, you're immediately blocking the threat of the rook.
Oh, wait. So there's another idea here. So knight f6, knight takes f6, queen takes.
Wait, knight takes f6. What are you saying?
Knight f6, knight
Oh,
takes
yeah,
f6,
yeah, exactly.
queen takes.
Queen takes, but again, you can just pop the bishop over to f3, and there's still no threat.
So if you pop the bishop over to f3 in that position, you still have... Black is still going to be faced with the issue of what to do with with the rook. However, you might in this position also be able to think about playing h5, h7, h5. And so now you're bringing all your pieces in where you used to have issues. You still might have an issue because um, your rook is still misplaced, but it's becoming more and more logical for it to be there if you're able to get a structure like that.
Yeah. So black is getting a little bit of initiative.
But he has to. I feel like he has to see knight f6 because I don't see much. Actually, you might also be able to, in some positions here, play something like.
Oh, he brings the queen over.
Wow. This
That
is
looks kind of
premature.
strong. Well, now, okay. It looks scary bringing it over, but something like bishop takes knight immediately
Yeah.
gets rid of that.
Yeah. I agree.
But he's playing with initiative, which is good.
He's playing confidently and quickly as well.
Yeah, you gotta play to your advantage. Cam's low in time. You're making him think, and although I think he's still. Oh, he's also hanging the pawn with that too.
Now, what could you play here to lose with white?
Take the pawn. You take the
Take
pawn.
the pawn.
Take
Knight takes pawn.
Yeah, no. Bishop on h2 takes d6, or knight takes. Either one. Yeah, knight takes is
Knight
just
takes.
yeah. Either one is no bueno.
But you're threatening two pieces if you do that. You fork the bishop and the rook, but you obviously relinquish
Ooh.
control.
Okay. Huh. So he's attacking the rook and defending with his queen on that square.
So what he's done with this move is a couple things. One is I'll put in quotes because I'm not 100% sure, but I'll say improved the bishop. We were thinking about putting a pawn on the square at some point, but I don't think that was ever really going to happen. That was more just of a candidate move. So putting the bishop on g4 improves the scope of the bishop. It threatens the rook, and very importantly, it allows the queen to defend f2.
Yeah, and it's I wanted to play bishop takes h5 here, which is looking a little worse than the move you just played, because it's forcing black's hand here to.
So bishop
to make
takes
a decision.
h5, rook takes h5, and then I think you're threatening the sack on h3. Maybe bishop takes h3. Maybe it's still, 'cause at some point you're gonna bring the rook.
Yeah, the bishop. You're right. You're 100% are. That's scary. So this kind of avoids the complications, makes the rook go to a strange position. But I feel like if I was a supercomputer, there might be something weird with that f2 diagonal. But we're also completely ignoring the fact that not only does the rook look almost trapped here, but the queen is going to have some serious problems pretty soon.
The queen is, but luckily.
Where's the rook going?
Which one?
The black rook.
I was gonna say, how about the rook on a8 and the bishop on c8 that have not moved? This is an issue. When you're attacking in chess, one of the biggest things you want to do is you want to bring your pieces. So black has brought a lot of pieces into the game. However, as those pieces start to get traded off, and we're left with a position that has calmed down a bit, we're gonna have a little bit of issue potentially in black's position in that he's not developed two pieces, and that rook is really imprisoned on a8.
Okay, so he's going straight into it here. Took with the bishop. So I would actually phase into taking with the rook instead, only because he would have kept the pressure on the f2 square, right? Because rook takes, knight takes. Now,
Was this necessary?
um,
Was he worried about g3?
I actually thought, I think it would have been kind of smart if he would have taken with the rook and just gone down a little bit more with the initiative he already had, because now he's just down material and doesn't have any initiative anymore.
You don't want to lose that b Stark square bishop in the structure.
Exactly. That is his best piece. So, yeah, I think he was smart to just go with the punches instead of getting a passive position. But it would have been much better if he took rook instead of bishop here. That's how I play.
Because the rook's not doing much.
No, the rook sucks.
The rook is not
The rook
good.
sucks. The rook was only good there because the bishop was there. And if you were to have taken with the rook, I don't really even know the continuation he could have done here. With rook takes.
I think either way, white is getting what he wants.
Well, here's the thing. If rook takes, right, knight takes, and then the bishop would have been hanging at this point. Oh, my God. What just happened? He just checked with his rook. Oh, wow.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win the c8 bishop.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah, that was a complete blunder by black. Rook. So I 100%, and again, I took a picture. We'll talk about that position there. But in, seeing the writing on the wall, he just got rid of the weaker piece. But in that point, if he had taken rook takes knight, he would have still been on those black squares attacking the king, and the bishop would have been hanging that position because b takes g4, pawn takes g4, queen takes, the knight can't take because the bishop's there. Right? Do you see what I'm putting down here?
I see what you're putting down, and it's a good thought. You're probably in that position. You're gonna have h takes, and you're gonna trade the bishops, and you're gonna win a pawn, right?
Yeah, you'll win a pawn, and you'll have the same material as what he did. And now black is totally busted here. There's no.
I think it's busted. However, we have two important factors. One is Cam only has 40 seconds.
With a 15-second increment.
10, right? Is it 10 or 15? 15-10 or is it 15-15? He gets time.
I forget.
He gets time after move.
I forget.
However, it's okay. He's low on time. But here's the thing. I was gonna say the other thing is that he has a lot of attacking pieces, but Cam takes that out of the picture immediately. He trades down, which is what you should do when you're up material, and now he's consolidating the position. So
he's up a whole rook here, basically. Yeah. Just, good players are always going to be able to grind this out. His opposition was, strong. He just made a couple key errors, like that rook move. Is his rook just... No, it's his move.
It's black to move, but if he lazily brings the queen maybe to like e7, rook is hanging. This is an interference idea. To put the bishop between those two pieces and de-coordinate them.
But the rook's just can take the pawn or just go after the queen here and be okay.
Yeah. What would you do to fight right here?
I would just take the pawn. Take the pawn, scrap whatever I can, and try to find a draw because this is bad.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Oh!
Yeah, he's in time pressure. He's falling apart.
Yeah, we get a blunder. See this interference tactic.
That's funny because he probably didn't even realize his rook was hanging when he played that.
Yep. Now you play queen takes and you just clean up.
Yeah, this is over. Well done, Cam.
There you go. Good job, Cam. And you might be saying, oh, but he only has 58 seconds. No, Cam. This is something that Cam could.
That's the thing of increment. You give any over 1500 rated player a 15-second increment. They're not fucking that up unless they really can't play well.
Unless they've had a couple of those.
Yeah,
throughout the day.
We'll see.
Actually, it might play better.
I wonder hey, Akash, if you are listening to this, Akash is a national master who plays all the time, and he's hilarious because he always ends up.
We have a handshake. Sorry to interrupt. We have a handshake on board one.
Cam, dominance being displayed here with the highest rated player winning his first game. Let's see how he goes. Well played.
Slowly putting the pieces back on the opponent's side of the board. He's basking in the win right now. I think he's feeling pretty good about how he handled that position.
Cam is strategically a very strong player, and when he saw the opportunity to start playing tactically, he noticed that his position was going to fall apart, and he made the right decision, played strategically, brought his bishop back, and just played solid, good chess like any 17 to 1900 player should be playing. So well done.
Well done, Cam. And